Welcome to the third meeting of the Senate VMAP Committee. Please, if you have a cell phone, just a reminder, please turn that down. We have several bills we need to hear today, and we would like to be cognizant of our time, and we will go as quickly as possible, but we will take our time to hear every bill in its entirety. So please keep that in mind with your questions, committee members, and please limit those as best you can. At this time, I would like to lead us in the pledge. Senator Reed, would you lead us? And Senator Richardson will lead us in prayer.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful to be gathered here today in this. Thankful for this committee, the important work that it does. Thankful for all those visitors that came to pray for their safety, pray for the safety of our colleagues, their health, guiding hand, that spirit to be with us in all the decision making.
Amen. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Byrd, Senator Boswell, Senator Higdon, Senator Nunn, Senator Richardson, Senator Smith, Senator Tishner, Senator Wilson, Senator Yates, Vice Chair Reed, Chair Deneen.
Here. We do have a quorum and are duly constituted to do business. Today we have three bills before us, and the first bill is Senate Bill 144, an act relating to confiscated firearms, sponsored by Senator Danny Carroll. Please make your way to the table. You know the routine, Senator. Please introduce yourself for the record, and then you may begin at your leisure.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Committee. I'm Danny Carroll, State Senator from the 2nd District.
Major Bruce Button with the Kentucky State Police.
Mr. Chairman, I appreciate the opportunity to present Senate Bill 144 this morning. It would have been even better had there been coffee served this early in the morning. This bill primarily deals with the destruction of firearms used in homicides. The bill also allows the commissioner or the commissioner's designee to order the destruction of weapons that have been defaced, where they can no longer be identified, are contaminated with hazardous substances, is unsafe to discharge, and is subject to return to an innocent owner who has requested that the firearm be destroyed. And it also has a provision: firearms that are sent to the Kentucky State Police for disposition shall not be intentionally damaged, modified, or disabled by the agency having custody of these firearms. It says that an agency having custody of a firearm shall not retain the firearm for official use or use or transfer it to the Department of Kentucky State Police for disposition. That agency is to destroy the weapon itself upon order of the court. And finally, the bill directs that written policies be produced from law enforcement agencies related to the destruction of firearms used in homicides for agencies throughout the state. And that is the crux of the bill, and that's very basic. So if there are any questions, we can have the major here to answer those questions.
We have any questions at this time from committee members? Senator Tishner.
Thank you, Senator Carroll, for bringing this forward. I think it's a good bill. I do have a question. It reads in the first part of what the law used to be, if we were to change this, that the state police would auction this off and then it would be destroyed. Are you all losing out on some funds that, because I know a lot of those auctions are, the money would go back to KSP. Can you speak to that?
I can't tell you how much funds we would lose on homicide weapons. because we don't track that right now.
Okay.
So there's no way for us to know which weapons were used in a homicide when they're turned into us. So everything gets auctioned off. I can tell you that the auction brings in about $1.2 million a year.
Oh, wow.
And then the state police keeps about 20% of that. The rest goes to Kentucky Homeland Security for weapons and vests for other police agencies.
Okay. Thank you. That's interesting.
Motion on the bill. Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Senator Berg. Senator Boswell.
I'd like to explain my vote, please. I'm typically not in favor of destroying weapons. I do think in this particular case you've got a pretty good bill, so I'm going to at least vote to help get it out of committee.
Senator Higdon. Senator Nunn. Senator Reed.
I'd like to explain my aye vote. Generally, just as Senator Boswell just said, me and everyone in the 2A world are generally against destruction of firearms of any kind. However, I would ask that the bill slightly be adjusted, if possible, to include the word criminal in front of the word homicide, so that there, in any justifiable homicide or self-defense situation, the owner of the firearm would have the option of getting their firearm back.
The bill allows that. That is the first provision, is that an innocent owner is able to retain possession of those firearms.
Okay, well, I vote aye. Thank you, sir.
Senator Richardson. Senator Smith. Senator Tishner.
Aye.
Senator Wilson. Senator Yates. Chair Deneen.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I would like to record an aye vote as well.
All right. I believe we have all ayes have been recorded with no nays. The bill passes favorably, and we'll move on to the floor of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. I'll go pick up the coffee.
All right. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to be here. All right. Next on our agenda is House Bill 191, an act relating to the internment at state veteran cemeteries. Our sponsor, Representative Aaron Thompson. Please introduce yourself for the record, sir, and you may begin it.
Thank you very much, Chair Deneen and members of the committee, for having me here today, along with my guest, and I'll let them go and introduce themselves.
State Senator Greg Elkins, Senator for the 28th District.
Al Duncan, Division Director, State Veteran Cemeteries.
Silas Session, Executive Director of the Office of Kentucky Veteran Services.
You may begin.
Thank you very much, sir. Very much appreciate the opportunity to present this bill to you all today. House Bill 191 is something that actually passed last year through the House and Senate, but concurrence was not reached. It was House Bill 86. And what this bill does is really works to modify our state statutes to match up with federal law to allow some additional burials in our 5 state veteran cemeteries. The funds associated that would support this effort were fully passed last year in House Bill 6, but due to the failure of concurrence, we weren't able to get that done. So I'm going to defer to Director Duncan to talk a little bit more about the concept as well and why it's needed here in the Commonwealth.
Good morning, all. Thank you for allowing us to come in and speak about this. With the passage of the Burial Garden Reserve Act of 2022 at the federal level, this allows Kentucky and the state veteran cemeteries to provide a burial benefit to a specific group of National Guard and Reserve component veterans, their eligible spouses, and their eligible dependents that was previously not granted. We're talking about those National Guard and Reserve veterans that were never called to active duty and were never served under Title X presidential executive orders. They served their 1 week in a month. They served their 2 weeks per year, no active duty time. They could have done 6, 8, 10 years and then got out of the National Guard and Reserves. However, these are the individuals that we're talking about that just worked our floods. We're talking about the ones that just worked the Western Kentucky fire, the Western Kentucky tornadoes. Those are the individuals that we're talking about. They may have been brought to Title 32 under the governor, but not brought to Title 10 under executive order by the president. We're also talking about a small group of people that came in after Vietnam up to prior to Desert Storm. Any questions?
Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for this bill. It's a good bill. I just wondered what the minimum requirements. You mentioned 6, 8, 10 years in the reserves or National Guard. What is it, I guess the limit, the bare minimum qualifying service time that would just
Yes,
for
sir.
curiosity, what's
In the bill, it reads that they must have completed their first enlistment and PCS out of the reserves and or National Guard with a other than dishonorable discharge. So meaning an honorable discharge. But they must have completed their first internment.
okay? So basically, that's basically anybody that served in the Guard or
Yes, sir.
reserves. Okay, thank you very much. That answers my question. Thank you.
Senator Boswell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So can you tell me how far this goes down? So you got the member, the spouse, and then the children. So if he's got 10 children, and I mean, how far
Sure, sir. With that, the way that reads, and NCA Directive 3210, that is our Bible that we follow. For that, for children, the child must still be in the home and under the age of 21. For example, if the child is still going to school and is in the home and something happens to that child, then he is eligible. Once the child moves out, if he is in college and he is still under the direct supervision of that veteran, and he is in college and not married, and something happened to him under the age of 26, he would be eligible. Once that individual becomes married and or moves out of the house completely, he is no longer considered a dependent of that veteran, so it is not allowed. That also covers a child, a very small percentage of a child that is deemed mentally handicapped and cannot, so to say, care for themselves. They have to be dependent on the veteran for the rest of their life.
Any other questions? I have a motion on the bill. Do I have a second? Second. Call the roll.
Senator Berg. Senator Boswell. Senator Higdon. Senator Nunn. Senator Reed. Senator Richardson. Senator Tishner. Senator Wilson. Senator Yates. Senator Deneen. Chair Deneen.
I'm an aye vote, and I would like to thank the sponsor. This was a very important bill. As you know, and all of us know, our National Guardmen have gone above and beyond the call of duty here, especially here lately. They have really assisted our citizens in this state in some tragic times, and we want to make sure they know that they're appreciated and that they've earned this right. So thank you. I know you are a new representative, and it's great to see a young legislator bring such an impactful bill. So thank you, sir, and congratulations. Your bill passes favorably, unanimously, and we'll move on.
Thank you very much.
All right, at this time, we have Senate Bill 198, an act relating to the protection of veterans' benefits, sponsored by Senator David Yates. There is a committee sub on Senate Bill 198. Is there a motion to adopt? Do we have a second? Committee sub, all in favor? Committee sub is adopted. All right, Senator David Yates, please identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Chair Deneen and members of our committee. I'm Senator David Yates, representing Jefferson, District 37. Thank you for allowing me to come back on this bill. As you know, there is the committee subs that was just adopted, and what that did is it added some definitions, some of you have seen, and that was just the consulting agent, consulting firm, consulting business is defined as under the definition of the people covered. and it required accreditation for anyone seeking compensation for services, and it allows the Attorney General to oversee penalties, and it also directs that any funds received from the penalties be deposited and used is provided in I Support Veterans, the Special License Plate Fund, so that any of the fines or penalties that have been assessed for people for violating and otherwise ripping our veterans off goes back to help the veterans, is the idea. The bill is the basic concept is veterans deserve the benefits in which they are entitled to. And we want to make sure that no vet should be charged for the initial claim filing for which they should otherwise be granted. And so we put protections in place because right now, for-profit consultants across the country are making millions of dollars by charging our military veterans for what we call helping them in filing their disability claim with the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs. And it's a legal loophole right now because under federal law, it is illegal for companies that aren't accredited by the VA to charge veterans for fees for helping them file their disability claims, but there's no criminal penalties. And they get around some of this because the way it is listed under the federal reg, it says part of it, it would say attorneys or their agents. Well, a lot of these individuals that are doing this or these companies, they're saying, we're not agents, we're not attorneys, we're just consultants. We don't actually file the paperwork for them, we help them file the paperwork and then we charge them these fees. And so we had worked with my co-chair is the chairman, Deneen, looked through and worked with Jack Cove and members of the VFW and wanted to talk about what type of abuses are happening. And colleagues, it's not right. We've seen it time and time again, just very, very horrific abuses. There are some actors in this sphere that I don't think are bad actors, but there has got to be guardrails put in place. Our veterans deserve these guardrails. And so we laid out what we determined based on not just what me or our chair looked at, but we looked at best practices. Some 14 states have moved forward, another 4 very similar legislation to this, and we looked at what the federal regs was supposed to do. And everything in this bill would implement the federal regs, so it's laid out, even though it would be judicially preempted, so it's laid in there. And then we would say that in the event that the federal regs would be able to anything change, whatnot, obviously were preempted, but you could not charge more than 3 times the monthly increase in fees or $11,000, the lesser of the two. And that is for helping. And that's a safeguard. And that's not what you get to charge. That is an additional safeguard in addition to the federal regs that are put in place. Because as we've seen right now, the federal regs aren't being enforced right now. So we wanted to make sure that in Kentucky, we protect our veterans. In Kentucky, we don't let a watered down piece of legislation so we can check a box and say, you know what, we did our best, we tried to help them. We sat down with our vets, we sat down with the people who were at the table, we talked to the people who have been otherwise abused and mistreated over this, and we said, what type of legislation can we put in place that will make sure that this abuse won't happen? But it'll also say that after you filed your initial claim, if you choose to use a third party, you understand that there's that what they are. You understand that they're not part of our military or the Veteran Affairs. You understand that there's a contract. You know what it is that you're signing up for, and you also make sure that they're not otherwise being taken advantage of. And so, to me, I felt like it was common sense legislation. We got hit with a lot of misinformation, and I want to thank our men and women, our veterans behind me, who have stood up, spoke out, and really worked to make sure that we had the truth before us. And with that, I'd answer any questions.
Any questions? Senator Nunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Yates, thank you for doing this. I respect and appreciate where your heart is with it. I believe in the prior meeting there was testimony around from one of the actors in this space, and I believe them to be a good actor. I believe their testimony was such that 5 months, they felt 5 months, a 5-month cap or 5 times would be more appropriate just for how their business operates and to make the P&L of it work. But this right here is at 3 months. Was there discussion on that, and why did you kind of land on 3?
Yes. Well, first of all, I can tell you probably most of the horrific actors didn't show up here to testify. And that's one of the reasons that pushed the guardrail. But the 3 was based on conversations of the veterans that are otherwise affected and what would be reasonable. I understand that that going from a 5 to a 3 would maybe cost them millions of dollars, but that's millions of dollars that should stay in our veterans' pocket. And so there's still a model in place, but honestly, Senator, as I look at it, all these are operating within a loophole when they're not accredited. When someone can simply solicit online, and you got a lot of our veterans that'll get a Facebook pop-up or get a call, and unfortunately, we've even seen people who kind of bird dog these things out to them, and they call up and say, hey, I can increase your fee. I mean, I can increase the money you get each month, and that's something that otherwise they were already entitled to. And to me, I think I don't ever want to push out because I know there's good actors, but some of the bad actors, it's almost fraudulent. And so part of our job is to make sure that if you do work, you should be fairly compensated. And as long as the veteran knows what's going on, but we decided what would be within fair limits. And we looked and talking to veterans, and I'll tell you, a lot of people did not like the ×3. Some people says wanted ×1, ×2. And we wanted to find something that otherwise a business could still, a good business could still operate within a sphere where needed. And supplement, but we wanted to make sure there was additional protections for our veterans.
Mr. Chairman, follow up.
Yes, sir.
Again, I'm with you. I know your heart is, and I agree with your goals. I'm a little worried that the 3 could drive out some good actors in the marketplace. But with what you explained, I'm inclined to support this.
Senator Higdon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Senator Yates, thank you for bird dogging this and using your expertise in the legal trade to bring this forward. We've heard this bill many times, but it's a good bill. Help me understand the $11,000 cap.
Mm-hmm. So it would be the lesser of the 2. So there may be some, a lot of you knew my grandfather, and when he went to apply for his Purple Heart later on, well, there are a lot of times when there's nothing to a large amount, that first increase in those monthlies could be extravagant. And so we wanted to show if you're only filling in, actually their claim is they're not even filling in the paperwork because then they'd be practicing law without a license. If you're helping the person consult to fill in the paperwork, we believe for that action, we wanted to cap so that even the event that, let's say that a veteran was to receive $15,000 or their monthly would have been $40,000 because of what was due to them, the consulting group could not receive more than $11,000, even if the 3 times the increase was more than $11,000. I think the proposed number that they wanted was $12,500, and just by determination, looking at other claims, what other people had filed for, we thought that, and even me personally, I felt that was really high. But to like Senator Nunn's push, we wanted to make sure that if in the event that veterans want to choose to have a outside consulting agency in place, that they have that choice. But not to the point where they're ripped off. And so we get to the point of what is predatory lending, just like when we set guidelines of what you can return back onto it. We erred, I think, on the side of being a little bit high, because I think the reason we did that is because of all the additional protections. We have the federal regs that we put in here that's laid out, then we have the 3 times, and then we said, and if all that fails, it can't exceed more than $11,000.
Can I have a follow-up, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I guess, and it wouldn't happen, but my fear that when you put that guardrail in place, that every time we see one to be $11,000, that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing is if it was only that guardrail, Senator Higdon, I agree that's been my experience. It would be. So we have 3 of them in place.
Okay.
We have the federal regs that lays it out. That's the first guardrail, and we're preempted. That's the first and foremost. The second is no more than 3 times the increase in the monthly. And then if every one of those fails, and besides all that, it cannot under any circumstances still agree more than 11.
Well, I apologize for asking that,
No,
but I've
please.
dealt with a lot of things where you say the maximum amount, and seem like every charge you see is a maximum amount.
That's all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is how it works. That's why we put the extra ones in. Thank you, Senator.
Any other questions? All right. Do I have a motion on the bill? Second. Mr. Secretary, please call the roll.
Mr.
Yes. Oh, before we take this vote, we do have some guests here that would like to make some comments on this bill. So please, let's hold our vote and give them the opportunity. They've taken the time out of their day to come up here. And we actually have time because we have met early, and it's very rare that I thought we would ever get through 3 bills inside of 30 minutes. So. And we do have a question or comment.
Actually, a comment while our guests were
Okay,
coming to
sure.
the table. I just want to be recorded as voting aye on 144 and 191, please.
Thank you, Senator. Please identify yourself for the record. You may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the VMAP committee for giving me an opportunity to speak today. My name is Bob Casher. I'm an Army service-connected disability veteran from 36 years of service in the United States Army. And currently I serve as the chairman of the Joint Executive Council, a veteran organization. This bill is very important to the veterans of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. There is no reason that any veteran should be charged for claim assistance. Let's pass this bill and put some barriers on consulting companies. When the bill is signed into law, I think the next step could be that JEVCO lead the charge with KDVA and other veteran organizations to develop a booklet that lists all the certified, VA-certified claims officers within the Commonwealth by location and phone numbers, to be able to provide that on the website and on a booklet that so they can use that as their first avenue of choice when looking to help get a claim in. The veteran organizations that are stated in this bill and the consulting firms we know must document and agree to have a signed document by the veteran and the consulting group saying that there is free available claims organizations to help you with your claim if there has been a denial. So that's another barrier. So that's 2 great barriers. In the event that the claim is denied, they have the opportunity to, at their choice, to go to a consultant firm or a lawyer. But before they do that, by publishing these lists, we could mitigate that. Yes, the bill has dollar amounts in it, but you know what? We, as veterans, spread the word that there's free services, and we can mitigate all of those fees that are charged to our veterans. So it's in paper that the Bob consulting company would charge this, but Daryl's VSO does it for free. So Bob don't make $1. And that's what we want. We want to do the best we can for our veterans. But I would like to also mention before I close that the bill follows, as it does, it follows the federal regulations, and the accreditations must be done not only for the veteran service organizations, but for the law firms and for any consulting group that chooses to join in and help us with these claims. The bottom line is that we must work together, put discipline in the system, and prevent these consulting firms from taking the money from our veterans. I want to finish with this, just a little story. As a DAV Department Service Officer, I cannot count the number of veterans that I've helped with their claims, and they had no idea that there was organizations out there that would not charge them to do a claim. They will walk in and say, oh, I was going to go see this lawyer, or I got this consulting firm. So I sat down and say, don't do that. Go see the VFW, DAV, American Legion. We are here to help you and to help you put money in your pocket, not someone else's. So members of the VMAP, I ask you today, please say yes to this bill, and let's get moving and continue doing the right thing for our veterans. Again, I want to thank you.
Please identify yourself, and you may also go.
Good morning, you all. Again, my name is Daryl Casey. I'm the legislative chairman of JECVO, and 33-year military veteran, recently retired. I'm also a veteran service officer for VFW Post 4075 right here down here at the bottom of the hill. And And what I want to talk about today is not so much the bill, because you've seen it, you've read it, you've asked all the questions. What I want to talk about are the groups involved with this bill. So on one hand, you've got the consulting businesses. The consulting businesses currently are not accredited, right? They are just out there helping veterans. Now, why do they decide to choose to not be accredited? Because accreditation comes with rules. Accreditation means you can only do certain things. You can only charge so much. Well, they don't want to do that. These consulting businesses, they fly all over this nation, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. You know, I'm a farm kid from Shelby County. I grew up, went to the joint right after high school, joined the service, got out of the service, joined at 17, retired at 50. I don't know what a lobbyist is, but I learned really quick what a lobbyist is. Some of them are great. I mean, everybody has their place. But what I did understand is these cats, they fly around and spend thousands of dollars on trips and travel for themselves. And then they tell you why you should support, why they feel like you should support their ideas. We don't have that. JECVO is all volunteers. Chairman Casher, on his own dime, got a hotel room last night in Frankfort to be here this morning, on his own dime. We don't have thousands of dollars to throw around and get you to support our bills and why what we think matters. All we've got is our experiences. JECVO talks with the voice of thousands of veterans in this state. Thousands. Every veteran organization in this state is a member of the Joint Executive Council of Veteran Organizations. None of us do it for money. There's no check involved with this. We do it because we believe in what is going to help our veterans. And that's it. We got no ulterior motives. We got no side hustles. We got none of that. All we've got is what we believe in and what we want to help our veterans. JECVO supports this bill. I don't know how else I can say that to you that matters. JECVO supports this bill. Thousands of veteran voices support this bill. What else do you need to know? How can somebody say, well, I don't see how that can help a veteran? Trust me, we have people who look into these things. I don't know how to speak legalese. I don't know how to read all the therefores and thuses and all that stuff, but I got friends who do. And they explain to me what it means. They kind of dumb it down for me so I understand what this means.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second, but before we do vote, we do have another comment or question. Senator Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate y'all coming out and testifying this morning. And, you know, one thing, excuse me, the crud's getting me here. One thing that I would like to point out is that these consulting firms have sprung up largely because there's a hole in the market. Mm-hmm. There's, you know, me being 22-year plus combat veteran, I've got a lot of friends who have a lot of issues. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the VA really isn't knocking on their door asking to give them benefits. So these firms they've sprung up because of a hole in the market. And, you know, in the capitalist society, that tends to happen. But what I'd like, you know, my comment would be we need to modernize our process.
Absolutely.
And you know, in talking about doing a booklet, I'd also add that we need to get online and meet the current veteran, you know, where everybody's on their phone, they're on their computer. We need to have a digital way to do things a lot more streamlined, and I'd be willing to work with you all on that one for sure, because like I said, there's a hole in the market. We need to plug it and make it to where veterans don't have to pay for benefits that they deserve. In a way, you know, there's so much that we can do to meet the demand. So just wanted to say that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator, if I may, just real quick to respond to Senator Reed. We're not saying that there shouldn't be consulting businesses. Absolutely not. We're not saying that a business shouldn't make money. Absolutely not. We're just wanting to put it to where there's guardrails in place so they're not trying to make all the money off of the veterans. That's all we're saying. Level the playing field. That's all we're asking.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Mr. Chair, we do have a title amendment.
We will get to that right after the vote, so thank you for reminding us, but we do have that down, so we will get to that. We'll see how this vote goes. All right, at this time, Mr. Secretary, call the roll.
Senator Berg.
I would just like to take a second to explain my aye vote. First of all, thank you all. Thank you for your service. Thank you for the work that you're doing to support our veterans in this state. You know, most people don't understand why I want to be on this committee, but my father was a veteran, and I served for many, many years as chief of radiology at the VA, Robley Rex in Louisville. And I love taking care of our vets. Best people. No question about it. Thank you.
Senator Boswell. Senator Higdon. Senator Nunn. Senator Reed. Senator Richardson. Senator Smith.
My vote, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I have been sort of following this. There's a particular group that has reached out to me with some information, and they're the VA Guardian. You all may be familiar with them or not, and they've raised some concerns about not being able to participate in this, and pointed out that there's some other states that are litigating this. So I do want to look into that. They've raised a good issue. Maybe I'll speak to you all privately to save us time, but I certainly don't want to just feel like we're running over top of them or have some sort of inadvertently do something to them. And they're a group that looks like they do a lot of good work. So I will vote aye, but I will do the due diligence of getting with you gentlemen to find out what the gap is here and make sure that we don't have some sort of unintended consequence. Thank you.
Senator Tishner. Senator Yates. Chair Deneen.
Aye. I want to thank the bill's sponsor. I'm very proud that this is a bipartisan bill. And I'm very proud of the time that was given in the first reading and the concerns that were brought by JECVO, VFW, and other veteran organizations. You were willing and open to make those adjustments and make those changes to address those concerns and make this bill airtight. I believe it is much better as you've incorporated those. So I do want to compliment the bill's sponsor on those efforts. And we have passed the bill unanimously, and it will move on with favorable consideration. And we do have a title amendment. So is there a motion and a second on the title amendment? We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Title amendment passes. Senator Tishner, you have a comment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to introduce a guest that's spending the day with me today. He's going to be my page and just following us around and seeing how government operates here in Frankfort. This is Michael Smelsley, and he actually is a student at the middle school that I went to. So I know he's going to have a great time today. I'm happy to have him join us and get to witness what goes on.
And I know that must be a fairly new middle school. So we want to welcome you, young man. Please make him feel welcome. Thank you, Senator. Thank you, guest, for your testimony today. We appreciate all you've done. At this time, is there any other business before this committee?